Hello, hi, welcome everybody. So recently I made a video talking about the top 24 books I want to read in 2024, and all of the books that I mentioned in that video were backlist titles, and most of them were books I personally own. But I also wanted to share with you all some of my most anticipated releases for 2024, so today that's what we're going to be talking about. I haven't made a most anticipated releases video in quite a bit, but this year there are a few new releases that I'm really excited about, and so I had to talk about them and had to share them with you all in one place. So if you're looking for a list of some new book releases to check out this year, and you have similar taste to me, you've come to the right place. Before we get into the rest of the video, I want to tell you all about the sponsor for today's video, Proven. One of my goals for this year, just like with my reading, is to set schedules and routines for myself so that I can stay consistent. And one consistent routine I really want to implement into my year this year is my skincare routine, and Proven has made that so much simpler. Proven is a skincare brand that caters to you. You take an online quiz with all kinds of questions about your skincare needs, and they create a formula that is designed just for you. My two main concerns were hyperpigmentation and dryness, and the quiz was so specific to my needs. The questions were really detailed about the type of dryness I experience and the type of hyperpigmentation, and so they were able to create a formula that was really helpful for what I needed. And the thing I love about Proven is that they just give you 3 simple steps for your skincare routine. I've always gotten so frustrated using a million different skincare products trying to find the right thing, and Proven has really simplified that. So now I don't have to go digging through a bunch of different products. I just know exactly what I need to use in the morning and exactly what I need to use at night, and it's so easy. So it really helps you to stick to your routine and so that it doesn't get overwhelming. I've always really struggled with dry skin. I have incredibly dry skin, and the night cream that I have from them is so moisturizing and so nice. I wake up every single morning, no more flaky skin, and now my skin just feels so much more moisturized than it was before. I'm also a huge fan of their daily moisturizer and the cleanser, but the daily moisturizer also has SPF 30, which is so great because I like to wear sunscreen every single day. So now this really simplifies it because I can have my moisturizer and my sunscreen in one. So if you're interested in trying out Proven for yourself, click the link and use my code Clockwork to get your first Proven personalized system for $99 for a limited time. That's a 50% off discount from the retail price. But again, thank you so much to Proven for sponsoring this video and for keeping my skin happy. But without any further ado, let's get back into the books. So we're gonna go chronologically in order of release date, and 2 of these books are already out. They came out in mid to early January, but I still wanted to mention them because I'm still very excited about them. First up, we have Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands, and this came out on January 9th. This is the sequel to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, which I read last year and I really loved. It's an adult fantasy romance series that follows the story of our main character named Emily Wilde, who is a researcher who goes out to research fae and ends up finding out a lot of secrets along the way, a lot of things she didn't mean to discover, and also finds love. I adored the writing in this series. I love the characters. Emily is really clever and witty, and she's really different from a lot of main characters you'll read about in fantasy romance series. And I also love the love interest in that book as well, so I'm so excited for the sequel because we do get left off on a pretty intense cliffhanger. But I'm so excited to get around to this. I plan to read it fairly soon, and hopefully I love it as much as the first one. Next up, keeping on theme with fantasy romance and fae, which is interesting for me because I'm not usually into fae. The next book on my list is Faebound, and this came out on January 18th. From what I know about this one, it's about these 2 sisters who end up getting stuck in the world of the fae, but I think the romance in this one is also sapphic, and it just seems fun. I really like the cover art for this one, not gonna lie, the cover is a huge pull for me. And I feel like I need to read more fae stories because I need them to be redeemed for me after the really popular fae stories that I've read that I wasn't a fan of. I don't actually dislike fae. I grew up reading a lot of fae stories, and I realistically should love stories about them. I think I'm not into the Sarah J. Maas iteration of fae. So hopefully this ends up being a series that I end up liking. I think it's going to be the first book in a trilogy, and so I'm really looking forward to picking it up and hoping that it becomes a new favorite. Next up on my list is The Warm Hands of Ghosts, which releases on February 13th. This book is written by Catherine Arden, who is the author of the Bear and the Nightingale series, which I haven't yet read, but that is also on my list of top 24 books to read this year. So hopefully I'll get around to that, but I'm really excited about this new release as well. From what I gather, this book is historical fiction / speculative fiction, so I think it's a historical fiction novel with a little bit of like a speculative element to it. It takes place during World War I and follows the story of this nurse whose brother died during the war, and she is trying to search for him, I believe, because she doesn't think that he's really dead. My guess is that he probably turned into a ghost. I just haven't read any historical fiction for a while, and I know a lot of people really like this author. I've been seeing a lot of buzz around the book, and I just like the ghost element to the story. I've been really in the mood to read kind of creepier, eerie, dark things, and this one kind of fits into that a little bit too. So I'm excited about this one, and again, hoping to enjoy it. The next book on my list also comes out on February 13th, and that is An Education in Malice. This book is written by S.T. Gibson, who is the author of A Dowry in Blood, which I read in 2022, and I really, really loved that one. But An Education in Malice is a dark academia book with romance. I think the romance in it is also sapphic. And based on how much I loved S.T. Gibson's writing in A Dowry of Blood, I have a feeling I'm really gonna like this book too. I love dark academia books. I love a good romance in the dark academia as well, and I love S.T. Gibson's writing. So everything about this is again set up to be something that I hopefully end up really loving. And I plan to pick this up as soon as it comes out. The next book on my list is probably one of the ones I'm most excited for, and that is A Tempest of Tea. And this is set to release on February 20th. So from what I know about this book, it's supposed to be the first book in a new duology, and it's about this criminal mastermind who runs a secret blood house in the back of her tea room that caters to vampires as her clientele. So there are vampires and I think like a criminal heist in this book, so it sounds like perfection. I love fantasy. I love a good vampire story. I really feel like vampires are making a big comeback this year, and I'm really happy about it, and I hope they do. There's so many vampire books I want to read, and this is definitely one of them. So yeah, I cannot wait for this book to come out. I feel like this is probably going to be one of my favorite fantasy reads of the year, at least in terms of new releases. It's set up to be everything that I love. So hopefully I'm not putting too much expectation on it, but I really do think it's going to be a standout, and I just can't wait to get my hands on it. Next up on my list is probably one of my most anticipated releases of the year, probably my second most anticipated release of the year, and that is The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. And this comes out on April 9th. I just know that I'm gonna eat this up. Leigh Bardugo standalone fantasy book set during the Spanish Golden Age with alchemists and magic, everything that's just so fantastic about Leigh Bardugo's writing. I'm gonna love this book so much. I already know it. I might be overhyping it for myself, but the chances of me not liking this are very slim. I was also under the impression for a good bit that this book has vampires in it, but I'm not 100% certain that it does. If it does, that's another reason I will absolutely adore it, but not certain on that, so don't quote me. But I just know it has magic and fantasy, and it's just gonna be so much fun. So I'm immediately picking this up the second it comes out, and I will be able to think about nothing else. My next most anticipated release is Funny Story by Emily Henry, which comes out on April 23rd. Of course, I had to include the next Emily Henry book on this list. I'm very excited for this release. I do already actually have an arc of it, so I am able to read this. I have just been putting it off because I'm not in the mood to read a romance right now. I only really feel like reading fantasy or kind of like dark gothic lit fic. So it's just not the right time, but who knows, my mood could fluctuate and then I'll just decide to get around to it in the next week or so. I don't know much about this book other than there's one part of the summary that describes it as, and I'm paraphrasing here, but Daphne, the main character, falls in love with her ex-fiance's new fiance's ex. So it does sound like a funny story, but knowing Emily Henry and the way she tells her stories, it's also going to be heartbreaking. I hope I enjoy this one. So I'm going into this open-minded, but I'm not 100% certain that it's going to be a new favorite or anything, but I am excited about it because I do enjoy reading her work. It's fun, it's entertaining, and it's a perfect sit down and finish a book in one sitting type of story. Next up on my list, we have another book by S.T. Gibson, and this time it's Evocation. And this book is set to come out on May 28th. From what I know about it, this is the first book in an adult fantasy series where I think our main character makes a deal with the devil. I think the story has like psychics and magic and obviously deals with the occult, so it seems like it's going to be really fun. Again, like I mentioned earlier with An Education in Malice, I love S.T. Gibson's writing, and I think she does a really good job of writing dark gothic stories like with A Dowry of Blood, so I'm so excited about this one. I really want a new fantasy series to just get fully invested into, and so I'm hoping this is a new magical story that I can completely immerse myself into. Okay, next up on my list is definitely one of my top most anticipated ones, and that is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. And this one is set to release on September 10th. This is written by the same author who wrote The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which was one of my favorite books of 2023, and is now just one of my favorite like cozy romance fantasy books. It's so good. So when I found out that she had another book coming out set in somewhat, I think, of the same universe, different characters, I believe, but similar universe, similar vibes, oh my god, I need it. I just know this book is going to be so much fun, so heartwarming, so cozy, and just like the perfect warm fall read. I can't wait to pick it up, curl up on my couch, and devour it in one sitting. And who knows, maybe I could even end up liking this one even more than The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I just can't wait to pick this up, and I am positive that I'm gonna love this. Just 2 more books left, but the next one on my list is A Dark and Drowning Tide, and this book comes out on September 17th. This is an adult, sapphic, dark academia book. Also, the cover art, so pretty. The covers of like all of these books are really beautiful. I feel like the publishers are stepping up their game with who they're hiring to do the cover art for a lot of books, because I feel like this year they're a lot better than they have been in some past years. All I really know about this story is what I said. It's academic rivals to lovers from what I understand, and it's adult sapphic fantasy romance. Plus it was written by Alison Saft, who wrote A Far Wilder Magic, which I loved, I think in 2022 when I first read it. I absolutely love that book, so I'm so excited to read her new book. I pick a lot of my most anticipated releases based on books by authors I've already read and loved, but then sometimes I also discover new things, but this is definitely one that I want to read because I already know I like the author's work. But yeah, everything about this sounds so up my alley and so to my taste, so hopefully it's another one that I do end up enjoying. Okay, and then last but not least, this is actually my most anticipated book release of the year. We do have to wait until August for it, but I can't wait to get my hands on this, and that is Lady Macbeth by Ava Reid. I am a huge Macbeth fan. You all know I really love Shakespeare. I read it a lot in school, I read it a lot growing up, and the fact that Ava Reid, one of my favorite authors also, is writing a Lady Macbeth story, oh my god, give it to me now. I need it immediately. I just know that I'm gonna be obsessed with this. I read and loved Juniper and Thorn, and that is definitely still my favorite of Ava Reid's work, and I feel like in terms of theme, this one will probably be the most similar to that one in terms of like how dark it is. So I just know, I know, like without a doubt, of every single book on this list, this is the one that I'm most certain about that I'm gonna love. There's no question in my mind. I have a feeling this is gonna end up being on par with something like Circe for me. This is just gonna be a classic retelling of a female character in a story where she gets no voice and we finally get to have her voice. I just know it's gonna be that good. And oh my god, the second this drops, the second I get my hands on this, there's nothing else I will be doing. Don't talk to me, don't look at me, don't ask me a single question. I will be doing nothing but reading this book. But there you all have it. That is it for my list of most anticipated 2024 book releases. Let me know in the comments down below, what are some of your most anticipated releases for the year? Do we have any of the same ones? Are there any other ones I didn't mention in this video that you're really excited for? There are definitely more books that I'm looking forward to this year than just the ones that were on this list, but I just didn't want to include too many, and I wanted to keep it to my top most anticipated. So yeah, be sure to let me know if there are any other ones that you really think I should check out. If you would like to follow me on any of my social media, all of my links are in the description box as always. But thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!